If you saw my last video, you probably noticed the 6 JetKVMs mounted in a 1U mount. I originally planned to cover this rack mount in that video, but I realized it deserved its own deep dive, so here we are. This 1U rack mount faceplate is a great way to mount 6 JetKVMs, making for a pretty solid DIY solution to keep things organized. My goal is to rack mount these units and connect 6 machines for remote control over the network. Some of them are mini PCs and others are servers, so I'm really hoping this setup works as intended. This project involves a little bit of everything: having metal cut, 3D printing parts, buying additional hardware, heat setting inserts with a soldering iron, and, of course, gathering enough dongles to make the latest MacBook jealous. I've linked all of the parts in the description, along with the free and open source model created by Jared. You might recognize Jared from Jeff Keerling's mini rack video, where he showcased his mini rack designs. In that video, he mentioned a 1U version that holds a single JetKVM, but later in Discord, he shared that he also created a 1U version that holds 6 JetKVMs. As soon as I saw the 1U rack mount system that could hold 6 JetKVMs, I knew I had to make it. And to be completely honest, it wasn't just for aesthetics. I was also fed up with my TE Smart Switch and all the issues it's given me over the years. This was the perfect excuse to switch to something more reliable. Just to be transparent, JetKVM did provide these units, but only after I had already backed the project. That said, if they ever release a PoE version, I'll gladly buy 6 of those and give these away on Discord or social media. Jared recommended getting the rack mount cut by SendCutSend, as that's where some of his parts were made. I followed his advice and ordered 2, one for myself and one to send as a thank you to Jared. The final product turned out great, but one thing that caught me off guard is that these edges were really sharp. Now, I've never had custom cut metal parts made before, so I didn't realize they might still be a little bit rough around the edges. Literally. My plan is to rack mount 6 of these. Here's the one that I purchased that I backed. It's 0. Tell me you're a developer without telling me you're a developer. And then Jared also designed this 3D printable model right here, and this helps you rack mount it. So it goes something like this, so that it can then fit. So then it could fit like this. There we go. But I need to do a little bit of work first to get these screws in. So to do this, I will need to melt some of these screws and then push it into here until it's flush. That's at least the plan. We'll see how that goes. Never really done this, so let's heat up this first. I think that's getting hot enough. I can feel it. I think put this on here like this. Ooh, that's kind of risky. So let's give it a go. Wow, that is turning colors. It was about to start smoldering. So let's push this into here until it's flush. Ooh, that was fast. Let's do the other one. Ooh, this is scary. Let me get some tweezers. Okay, let's let this warm up. Okay, let's push this in. It's like butter. I kind of want to tap it down. All right, that's one. I'd always wondered how 3D printed models incorporated brass inserts, so it was cool to finally see this process in action and test this out on a pretty simple project. Cool. Well, now I know how to do that. If you're gonna do this, I will say that there are some burrs and imperfections in this. And I could file it out a little bit more. I did take a Dremel to it, but no matter what, you're gonna end up scratching this up a little bit. It's gonna be on the underside, so it's not gonna be too bad. Just be warned that if you do this too, you're gonna get some scratches, but nothing on the face itself. I've had this rack mount sitting here for about 3 months, just waiting for me to start on it. I wanted to make this video sooner, but other projects kept taking priority, so I tried to forget about it. Also, I didn't even test fit anything before recording, which probably wasn't the smartest move, but Jared's measurements were spot on. Okay, 6. So these are all in here now. This is pretty solid. It's actually pretty heavy too. Now, if you look closely at this, Jared even designed this around these vents right here, so it could still let heat out. So I printed this in PETG just in case. Now PETG has a higher heat tolerance over PLA, so that's why I did it. But it should be fine. It totally should be fine. It's not going to exceed the temperatures or the thresholds of PETG and probably not even PLA. But I didn't want to risk it, especially since I had to melt those and put those in. I just didn't want it to loosen up and, maybe get too hot to where it would bend. But I think this is gonna be fine. I think this is gonna work out great. I think I figured out how I'm gonna connect this in my server rack. I finally settled on some hardware and most of it came in. And to show you what I'm doing, I'll just pull this one a little bit closer. So imagine this is one of the servers or machines in my server rack, and then this is one of those that are plugged into there. The first thing I decided on was, yes, I'm going to use PoE. I would love if they had a PoE version, but they don't right now. So I'm going to use these PoE adapters to kind of get rid of some of the cables. And I can't do that, so I have to use this splitter to then supply power. Kind of makes that a little bit awkward, but it is what it is. The next thing I need to solve is the keyboard and video input into this USB. And I think what I'm going to do is use one of these adapters. So this is a USB-C to USB-A adapter. Doing that really so that I can use just some generic USB-A cables that are male to male. I decided, well, I'm going to make everything USB-A because I know all of my devices have USB-A. And then so I'm going to connect this like this. And so this then would go into the back of one of my servers or one of my PCs that are in my server rack. So the next thing I need to solve is the mini HDMI to the full HDMI. And I kind of went back and forth on this. I thought maybe I'll get specific cables that are mini HDMI on one side and HDMI on the other side like this, really long. But then I thought, well, I don't want to buy specialized cables. I'd rather do something like this, use a converter, and then use kind of generic cables. And I did consider using something like this that's a mini HDMI male to a full HDMI female and then plugging this into there. But I thought, well, rather than buy these adapters, I'll use the cables that they shipped and then use a female to female full HDMI adapter. So really, this will end up going like this inside of here and then plug in this adapter to here. Then I can just use a standard HDMI cable that goes into here. Then the last thing I need to do is just connect it via PoE for power. And this should kick on. And if I plug in this machine and power it on, we should see, hopefully, that everything connects okay. So I think this will work out pretty good. I mean, if I were going to do this long term and this wasn't my home lab, how would I change this? Well, one thing I would do is buy specific cables because I don't like all of these adapters like this. The more connection points I have, the more points of failure I have that something can unplug when I'm moving or shifting stuff around. So if I were to do this and this weren't my home lab and I absolutely had to use this device in production somewhere, I would buy the micro HDMI cable on one side with a full HDMI on the other side. And then I would do the same for USB. I think I misspoke earlier. I would just need really just a USB-C cable. I would use a USB-C cable here and then run a USB-C cable to the device if I can, and then plug it in if I can. If I can't, I'm still gonna have to convert it to a USB-A. So that one's kind of up in the air whether or not I would make that change. I kind of like sticking with USB-A, but if it has USB-C, I definitely would use it, and that would just keep me from using one of these. So we'll see when we get down there. So one thing I haven't really decided on yet is where I'm going to put it. I almost wish that this brush panel wasn't there so I could put it all there. I don't know. The easy way is to put it right here. Yeah, so that's definitely the easy route. Pretty low, at least for me. I'm really tall, so I kind of like things that I need to look at up higher. So I think I am gonna put it down here. At first I was a little bit hesitant, mostly because of looks, but I think it looks okay. I'm thinking about the aesthetics more than functionality, and this is actually 2 for 1 because one, I think it looks pretty good there. I think it still would look better up there, but anyways, and 2, it's going to be closer to the machines that it's going to remote control, which means, I don't have to worry about extra long HDMI or USB cables because hopefully it's going to control 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 5th, and then hopefully a 6th. But I need to test those adapters. I don't know. There? Does that look good? I mean, it's kind of falling down right now. Not exactly like that. Here's the other thing I have to deal with is wires. So I was thinking about getting one of those sleeves and kind of binding them together. But what I think I'm going to do is just use Velcro instead of one of those sleeves, because there's no way I'm going to get this through one of those sleeves nicely. I think what I'm going to do is I have plenty of Velcro. I'll just make it look you know, kind of nice and up and out of the way. And the other problem I need to solve is, okay, well, are all of these cords just going to sag down? I don't think so. So I'm going to put some rings up there so I can run them through. Similar to what I did for power back here. As you can see, I put these rings up to help manage cables. So I think I have a few more of those rings. They're actually really nice. I used them for power all the way down and network on the other side. And so I think I have some extras. I can put them on the side as well. Okay, let's get this mounted. I know rack studs would be super easy, but I kind of like my stainless steel screws. And this being metal and those being metal, I kind of like the look. Otherwise, I would totally use rack studs for this. But I'm already in too deep on stainless steel screws, so. All right, looks pretty good. So let me go around, tighten these up first, and then let's run all of these cables. One thing I do want to call out is that I do have this TE Smart switch. It doesn't currently work with the JetKVM, but it's only because the software hasn't been written yet. Because this is an IP KVM, you plug it in and you actually get an IP address. Someone would just need to write the software to actually change the inputs on that IP address. I bring that up because I'm unplugging a lot of those inputs and running them directly into the JetKVM. So arguably, if that worked right now, I'd only need one. But I kind of like having 6 individual because, I don't know, this has been a lot of problems over time. And honestly, I'm kind of ready to just like not have it in here anymore. Or maybe keep it in here and use it for something else. But it's been a pain in my butt for a while. So I'd like to not rely on it for this, at least for remote control. I totally thought I was going to ace this when I unplugged it from my TE Smart. But I forgot that my TE Smart has USB-B, and I don't want to buy adapters and convert that, so I do have to run USB cables, but luckily in my bin of cables I have plenty of USB-A to USB-A, but now I'm going to have to undo them and run them, so all done. So that took a lot longer than I expected because, you know, I had to run different USB cables, and then I had to run all of the network cables up to my switch here too. So it's plugged into, I think, this 6. Now, let's talk about this cable mess. It's probably going to be a turnoff for a lot of people, especially with all of the adapters that I'm using. Now, normally I'm not a fan of using so many adapters, but I really like the idea of having 6 mini screens in my rack for, you know, YouTube. After getting the last few parts in, I took some time to clean up the rack, organize cables, and remove some unused power cables. It's crazy how much a little bit of time and a little bit of Velcro can help out. I'm really happy with the way that this turned out. Having 6 individual JetKVMs, each with their own mini screen, is super nice to be able to see the IP address or USB or HDMI connections without logging into the UI. That said, I really hope a PoE version comes out because that would clean this setup up a lot. Also, cable management with a 1U faceplate like this is a challenge. I'd love to hear your comments on how you would fix all of these cables. So a huge thanks to Jared for the design and Adam from JetKVM for sending over these units. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm Tim. Thanks for watching.